Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Eirini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum. Peace be unto you. Today we're looking at Judges chapter 17 in this video. There are 13 verses. Before I start getting into this, the differences, I wanted to address the last video I did, which was talking about Samson. Would you choose Samson to be the leader of your church, synagogue, mosque? And I think I was looking at the outside too much, because when you realize that in scripture it says, and we haven't gone there yet, but I believe it's with Samuel, it says that Adonai man looks at the outside, looks at the external. That's how man judges. So we judge Samson as a violent man, a murderer, adulterer, slept with prostitutes. He couldn't control his eyes. He was mischievous and all these things. But Elohim, he doesn't look at the outside. I'm not saying that he won't be judged for those things. I'm saying that Elohim's judgment is not like our judgment. He doesn't see as we see. He isn't distracted by external, physical, superficial things. He looks at the heart. He sees everybody for who they really are. And so for us to judge the judge, Samson, for the things he did, not really knowing who he was internally, what his heart was, although his wife, Delilah, claimed to have known what was in his heart, because she said that Samson told me what's in his heart. It's only Elohim who knows truly what's in his heart. So regardless of our judgments, our criticisms on Samson, the only judgment that matters is Elohim's judgment on him. He knows true Samson in his heart. Again, I don't think any church, synagogue, or mosque would make Samson their leader, the chief head honcho. But Elohim did. And he has the best judgment. He is the judge of all the earth. And so he can make that call and say, Samson, you're going to be the judge. And he sees the beginning from the end. And that's why he chose him. He really knows Samson. We don't. So I'm going to leave it there. So Judges chapter 17. It says here in verse 2, talking about the pieces of silver, 1,100 pieces of silver. The son of the mother, which is Micah, said, which you took of yourself. Okay, so his mother took her silver, I was going to say gold, took her silver on her own volition. She took it out of her own resources to help her son to be cured from his illness. However, in the Masoretic, talks about how her shekels of silver were taken from her. So someone stole them, apparently. Okay, so no, that's not what happened. The Septuagint tells us she took it out of her own free will. She decided to use that silver and that for the purposes of helping her son. And then the verse closes out the statement, blessed my son of Yah, versus blessed of Yah, my son. So that can be interpreted multiple ways. The way I read it anyway is, in the Septuagint says, my son is blessed of Yah, may you be blessed of Yah, versus my son is of Yah, and may he be blessed. But my son is of Yah. So perhaps even the son of Yah, which can be blasphemous. Okay, and verse 4. Silversmith versus a founder. And then it talks about he made it, a graven image and a molten image. But this is the it we're focusing on, the second one. And it was in the house of Micah. So it, referring to the idol, the molten image, versus they were in the house of Micah, so referring to Micah and his mother. Verse 5, this is an interesting individual, Micah. He turns his house, as the Septuagint describes, the house of Micah was to him the house of Elohim. So he transformed his house into a place of worship. In the Masoretic, it doesn't say that. It says the man Micah had a house of Elohim. So it seems he made a separate edifice, a separate building for the purpose of to be the house of Elohim. Okay, in verse 7, there's just minor differences when it comes to Bethlehem and Bethlehem, Judah. And then again, verse 8, Bethlehem, the city of Judah, versus Bethlehem, Judah again. And then it says in verse 8, to accomplish his journey. So this man, the Levite, that is, he visited the house of Micah to accomplish his journey. So this was his goal, his end destination. He planned to go there, to the house of Micah. Whereas in the Masoretic, he just stumbled upon the house of Micah. He just, by happenstance, by happy-go-lucky, pure happenstance, bumped into the house of Micah as he journeyed. So it wasn't pre-planned. It wasn't a final destination or the final destination. This was simply a stopover in the Masoretic text. Verse 11 talks about the Levite began to dwell with the young man, or with Micah, because the Levite is actually the young man. So he started to live there. However, in the Masoretic, it talks about the Levite being happy to dwell with the man. So we're not privy to his emotional state or his feedback as to what he felt living with Micah. We only know that he began to live with him. So that was their arrangement. Whereas in the Masoretic, we see that he's happy. In verse 13, or last verse, Micah makes the Levite his priest. And it says, now I know that Yah will do me good, because a Levite has become my priest. So it seems that Micah assigned him as the priest, so he took over from Micah's son, perhaps, is my speculation. However, in the Masoretic, it says, I have a Levite to priest, so perhaps he kept his son as a priest and had the Levite as the primary priest or an extra priest. In the Septuagint, it seems, again, my speculation, not saying this dogmatically, but it's possible that he has become his priest, my priest, as in the only priest, pretty much canceling the need for his son to be a priest, because it really is the set apart for the Levites. They are the ones who are set apart, the sons of Aaron, specifically to be the priests, to serve in that capacity. So that's all for this video. Judges chapter 17. Tune in next time. We'll look at Judges chapter 18. Until then, Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Eirini Mazisu, and Pax Vobiscum. Peace be unto you. Maranatha.